catch me balling like I'm in the end zone. I got my homies in the no new friend zone. You know, making plays that land us in the end zone. Coming in clutch, you can catch me in the end zone. End zone.
Ho, ho, ho! Merry everyone!
Ho, ho, ho. What is happening, people? Welcome back to In the End Zone UK, your home for all things NFL and much, much more. It is week 16 and Christmas is 2 days away. The festive spirit is hopefully within us all. We all feel alive, ready for Christmas, ready for Santa Claus to come down our chimneys and give us lots of football-related presents. I hope your presents are wrapped and that you're all ready. Alternatively, you could be out crazy Christmas shopping on the 23rd of December. Hopefully not. Hopefully you're able to sit back and watch NFL reruns, NFL highlights, and the stormer of a game that was the Monday Night Football game last night. This episode I'm calling Rudolph the REDZONE Reindeer, and that is because this is the best time of year for the Red Zone. Cold weather outside, big games, playoff pictures, playoff implications. Football is on pretty much every day, which is fantastic. There is no more meaningful way to spend watching December football, and week 16 delivered in that big way. But before we get into that, I have with me today only one the In the End Zone UK team, but he's the important one. He is Father Christmas reincarnated as a Tennessee Titans fan. He's got the beard, it's just not grey and bushy. Big Dave, how you doing today? Merry Christmas.
Ho, ho, holy cow, the Titans won. How we doing?
Did. It's a Christmas miracle.
It is, beat the Chiefs. F them Chiefs.
That is a big win, actually, isn't it? Irrespective of who's at quarterback, they've got a good defense. And if I'd have told you at the start of the year that the Titans were going to beat the Kansas City Chiefs, you'd have probably thought I was smoking some illegal substance, would you not?
I would, yeah. However, as the weeks have worn on, the Chiefs will look more and more beatable, and now without Patrick Mahomes, they are incredibly beatable. With Gardner Minshew, they were beatable. With this jabroni, whoever their third string guy is, they are very beatable.
Yeah, can't pronounce his last name, won't even try. We will get to talking about that, I'm sure, a little bit later. But are you feeling festive, Dave? We don't have Camo with us. He told us last week that he's not feeling very festive. Yeah, he's the only man I know that owns more Christmas jumpers than there are days in the week. But hopefully he's in the Christmas spirit. He's not able to join us today. But are you feeling festive?
Yep, Christmas shopping's all done for once. I feel like I'm ahead of everything.
Organised.
Everything's wrapped. Not to a very high standard, but it's wrapped.
I've seen some of your wrapping. It's the effort is there. The execution, questionable. But
I'm no good at. I'm awful at drawing. My handwriting's terrible. I'm just not an artistic guy.
I think it's the thought that matters, Dave, and I'm sure that those presents will look lovely underneath a Christmas tree. Good. For all our listeners out there, before we get to it, hope you all have a Merry Christmas. This is the last time that we're coming to you before Christmas. Eat well, drink well, watch football well, enjoy all that. This week, we are going to hit our segments as we usually do. There has been a lot happening, a lot of playoff implications. We will talk slap and sign, we will talk game recaps, and we will talk that playoff picture at the end of the podcast. But right now, we're going to go into our first segment, which is Game of the Week. Now, our Game of the Week, Dave, goes all the way back to Thursday Night Football. A blockbuster divisional clash between the Seattle Seahawks and the Los Angeles Rams. With everything on the line in this game, these two teams have been dominant in the division of the NFC West and even outside of that division for the most part of the season. The winner of this game takes top spot in the NFC, and for Seattle, a win meant win and in and a guaranteed playoff spot. The stakes could not have been higher, and what did we get? We got everything. We got touchdowns, we got turnovers, we got 2-point conversions, we got momentum swings, we got overtime, we got a walk-off touchdown in overtime. The final score, Seattle Seahawks 38, Rams 37. The Seahawks pulled off a big win. This was absolute cinema for the neutral. It was an absolute heart wrencher for a Rams fan and it was a hot exploder for a Seahawks fan. This is why we love football. This is why we love this sport. Seattle found a way. And I was on the 12 Talk podcast. Shout out Josh and Mitch on the 12 Talk podcast. Go and find them at 12 Talk. We spoke all about the Seahawks on this, so I feel like I've kind of talked about this from a Seahawks perspective, but I expect in this podcast for us to talk about this as a more open, neutral football watcher, I guess, Dave. So I've said my piece about it on another podcast. I'll absolutely say what I want to say on this one, but I think it'd be nice to get a neutrals, refreshing point of view for the Seahawks beating the Rams 38-37. How was this game for you? We've obviously agreed on it being the game of the week, but how was this game as a neutral watching this?
Yeah, it was great. I mean, it's obviously one of them. It's a Thursday night game, innit? So generally, unless it's the Titans playing on Thursday night, which never happens, I normally watch the games in the morning on the Game in 40, unless it's an absolute stink fest, and I'll just watch the highlights on YouTube. But this game, I was up early, but the game was unbelievable. You know, I thought that the Rams were going to absolutely mollywop you after the first sort of quarter, I guess. Well, the first half probably is more accurate. I think they went into the half with the lead, didn't they? They did. But to my surprise, out of the two teams, I wanted the Seahawks to win. So yeah, to my, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but
delight.
I guess
delight.
Yeah, maybe not delight. I was delighted the Titans won, but happiness, I guess.
Yeah.
The Seahawks managed to pull it off, and I'll let you talk about the game because you're probably a little bit more. It's probably a little bit fresher in your mind. I bet you've watched it back about 17 times.
I have watched.
Played me a little todger, but I was
confirm or deny that.
I was very surprised. I said to you, then I went after when they tied it up in overtime. I was very surprised that they went for 2.
Yeah,
I thought they were just going to kick the field goal and try and play for a tie because that benefited obviously you two and wouldn't really not benefit the Niners.
Yeah.
So when they went for 2, I was like, oh my God, especially after they'd got 2 from, they'd converted it 2 from the roguest way a 2-point conversion has ever been converted.
Yeah,
you know, was it Charbonnet? Was it just randomly picking the ball up in the end zone?
Yeah.
After a backwards pass was essentially knocked forward.
Yeah, that was a little bit of fortune, I think, involved in that 2-point conversion, to say the least. But it was a great game. And as you say, like the fact that you were wanting the Seahawks to win is nice. I don't know why. I think the Seahawks probably were the favoured team in terms of the team that people wanted to win. They certainly, I don't think, were the favoured team going into it. The Rams have been unstoppable this year, and I think that's just exactly for me to talk to it fairly, neutrally. I think that was, this was the game that a lot of people were looking forward to. It was the first time ever a Thursday night game had been played by 2 teams with 11 wins. It was a proper everything on the line type of game. Like you say, Seahawks win and they're in the playoffs. Rams win and they've basically locked the number 1 seed. Be hard for any team to catch them at that point. And we got exactly that. Seahawks went up early and then took the foot off the gas. That was really surprising from my perspective. I thought if we scored first, we'd be able to keep the pressure up. But as you say, the end of the second half going into the third quarter, it was all Rams. It was all Rams. I was watching it just thinking, this is... I genuinely... I'd say I'd 90% resided to the fact that we were just going to lose that game and that we had to beat the Panthers to make the playoffs, and that's how it was going to roll. I was sort of sat there going, okay, we tried, and then all of a sudden our defense stepped up, started stopping Matt Stafford, which, I can't even say we did very well. Stafford had the 3rd best game of his career in this game, Dave. 3rd best game in terms of statistics. Like, he did not throw an interception. The Rams didn't have a turnover. He threw for,
457 yards.
57 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. He did everything right. The fact that the Rams had no turnovers in this game, the Seahawks had 4 in terms of fumbles lost, interceptions. I don't know how we won this game. You know, like there was a little bit of fortune on that 2-point conversion, but aside from that, I don't know how we won this game. It's flabbergasting.
I think the punt return was a big thing. Yeah, the punt return for a touchdown.
Yeah,
they're always in swinging the games. Matt Stafford, I don't understand. Like Nakua had 225 yards and 2 touchdowns. Unbelievable game. He's I think it'd be difficult to say he's not the best wide receiver in the league right now.
Yeah, I think
out is as consistent as they get. You know.
Yeah.
Kenny Walker had a good day, didn't he?
Yeah.
11 rushes. He had a nice breakaway touchdown. I didn't think he had that speed in him.
No. Well, we slated him the week before, didn't we, about the fact that the Seahawks probably needed a new running back going into the new season, and probably do. But at the same time, if he was, and I said this on the 12 Talk podcast, if Ken Walker was able to do what he did in that game 60-70% of the time, he'd be considered an absolute elite back, because he has got top end speed that people just don't see, because he never gets to actually gallop down the field and use it. His vision's terrible. But when he can, he has got breakaway speed. He's one of the fastest running backs in the NFL, and I knew that. It's just he never gets the opportunity to use it. But yeah, he had a great game and sat on my fantasy bench, which was fun.
Yeah, but I think, like I said, in terms of what I think turned the tide, I do think that punt return was massive. And then I'm a little bit with you. I think they play so conservative as the Seahawks do. It's almost the same as when Pete Carroll was there. It's like 2 runs, then I'll pass the ball, 2 runs, and I'll pass the ball, 1 run, and I might pass the ball. I do think they've definitely got scope to be more aggressive, throwing the ball down the field. And I think that's what caught up to them, because you jumped out to a lead and then kind of were just like, no, actually, we're just going to run the ball a little bit now. And it allowed the Rams to get back into it. You can't allow them you can't allow them to try and get back into it, because you've seen what they can do. They could just put points up so quickly. Nakua will take a 10-yard slant, and he'll take it 70 yards to the house, you know. So
yeah, and that was the issue. You know, Matt Stafford was carving us up, Nakua was carving us up, but we eventually found a way to sort of stop them when it really mattered. We didn't sack him once either. He had a full game and overtime without a single sack against that Seahawks front 7. Everything seemed to go right for the Rams until it didn't, you know, and I think that is, I said it last week, you know, when the Seahawks won the week before with 6 field goals, you know, like just trying to find a way to win, irrespective of how you do it. If it means going for a 2-pointer in overtime to win, then that's what it means. And that's, you know, doing that. When you said I was surprised they went for the 2-point, to be fair, in my mind, I didn't even question it. I thought, if we get this, we're going for 2, because I thought if we kick it, then they get the ball back and we have not stopped them properly all day, and Stafford could maybe move it far enough for a field goal, then you lose, even though both teams have scored. And I think it was just it was obviously the right decision in hindsight, but I think it was the right call. And yeah, just to be able to finish the game, end it there. You know, as much as Sam Darnold had some interceptions in that game, they were off incredible defensive plays, amazing scheme. Like these 2 coaches, Sean McVay on offense going against Mike McDonald on defense. I think that's going to be a legendary matchup for like the next 4 or 5 years. Both coaches are young. They like try new things. It was just a chess match. It was an amazing game to watch. Yeah. And the Seahawks came out on top. Like, I can't really say much more about it from a fan's perspective. As a Seahawks fan, you know, we're sat there now with our destinies in our own hands. If we beat the Panthers and we beat the Niners, we go in with the number 1 seed. We finished the season with 14 wins, which when I started the season, I think my best case scenario was 11.
Yeah,
and you know, we're already past that. So yeah, I think overall, I was just going to ask you. These 2 teams are obviously now locked into the playoffs. Do you think either of these teams could make and/or win a Super Bowl?
Yeah, I think they both could. I think, ironically, the Niners are probably going to make it as well. It would not surprise me if that's the stupid thing to say, because if I was going to say, it wouldn't surprise me if one of them was in the Super Bowl, but that's basically 50% of the teams that are in the NFC. So the chance are that one of them will make a Super Bowl. But I do think that if it was just one of them teams, you know, what I mean, it wouldn't surprise me. It seems like they're good enough to do that and get in there. I think your defense, I think maybe the Rams and the Niners are both slightly better on offense, but your defense is way better than both of theirs, in my opinion. Yeah. If you can just get after the quarterback, you've got the secondary to really cause some problems, I think, and that's obviously showing. You know, you've just beat the Rams, and it wasn't. And yeah, they didn't have Devontae Adams, but if Devontae Adams was there, they probably both got 100 yards instead of Nakua just having 200.
Yeah,
I don't know it'd necessarily make that much difference, because I would back your corners against them. So ironically, I've just seen the Pro Bowl roster, or the quarterbacks, running backs, and wide receivers, and both JSN and Sam Darnold are Pro Bowlers.
Oh, are they?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not surprised JSN is, but I am a little bit surprised Sam Darnold's a Pro Bowler.
Yeah, so it's Sam Darnold, Dak Prescott, Matt Stafford from the NFC.
Wow.
From the AFC, Josh Allen, Justin Herbert, Drake May.
They make sense.
The wide receivers from the NFC, Nakua, Pickens, JSN, Amon-Ra St. Brown. And then from the AFC, Jamar Chase, Nico Collins, Zay Flowers, and Cortland Sutton.
Zay Flowers?
Yeah. It's a popularity contest, isn't it?
It is, yeah. I guess ultimately Pro Bowls don't mean a lot, although I think they help credit towards a football player's career when it comes down to accolades and stuff, don't they? But yeah, no, okay, that's interesting. Oh well done, Sam Darnold. I think he's crept in there somehow. He's been up and down, but he started the year on fire. I guess maybe that goes for him. JSN should absolutely be in there. I mean, he needs some big yards now to be able to break the record. I think he needs about 150 in each game between the Panthers and the Niners to be able to break Megatron's record, but it's not impossible. I don't think he will. And if he doesn't break the record, all of a sudden that season just becomes a good season, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It doesn't go down in any kind of history.
No. But I mean, I think Nakua's creeping up there, you know?
He is. He's only about 70 yards or something, 60 yards behind JSN. And at the rate that he's putting up yards, he might just overtake him as the season finishes, which if he does, then great. You know, like I never thought that JSN was going to be the number one receiver in the NFL this year. The fact if he creeps into he's definitely in the top 5 conversation now, but if he solidifies himself as a top wide receiver, then I'm very happy. You know, I don't need him to be number 1. I just need him to be good, you know.
Titans ironically have got 2 Pro Bowlers.
Have they?
Yeah.
Chimere, DK, and who else?
Big Jeff.
Oh, of course, Jeffrey Sims. All right, we'll talk about them because they made some big impact on your team. But that was our game of the week anyway. The Seahawks, to my delight, did beat the Rams. Big divisional clash, 38-37. That could very well be an AFC championship game down the line. And if it is, wowzers in my actual trousers.
I'll probably go as far as saying it will never be an AFC championship game.
I'd just say AFC.
It could be an NFC.
It could be an NFC championship, never an AFC. Cool. Okay, good. We finish our game of the week segment and we will go into segment 2, which is our favorite festive edition segment of Slap or Sign. So put your Santa gloves on, Dave. Get your fountain pen out that you've wrote your Christmas list to Santa on, and we're going to slap or sign. Now, for anyone listening who's new to the pod, each week we pick 2 players from the AFC, 2 players from the NFC. They either get a slap for a nightmare performance or they get a sign for delivering when it matters most. Dave, let's go to the AFC first, and I want you to give me your AFC slap.
My AFC slap is going to DK Metcalf.
Before you go any further, it's also my slap, so we'll get that out there now. 2 people, both me and Dave, both slapping DK Metcalf from the Steelers. Steelers playing the Lions on Sunday. Continue, Dave.
Yeah, and it's all to do with his actions. You know, whether he punched the fan or not, regardless of whatever the fan said, there's no excuse for hitting a fan. You know, even if he's being racist or calling you names or whatever, there's and I'm not condoning anyone being racist or calling people names, but my point is, you're a professional athlete. If somebody is doing that, speak to security and be like, get that dude out of there. This is what he said, get him out of there, get him banned. Because all you've done now is tried to strike him. If you did hit him, he's going to sue you. And now you've been essentially fined by the league. Well, I don't know what the league's fined him, but they banned him for 2 games, so he's going to lose about $500,000 for a 2-game suspension. I think actually he's probably lucky that maybe he didn't hit the guy, because I think if he had have hit him, then he'd be getting suspended for a hell of a lot longer.
Yeah, for sure. Could have been a, and I'll get to something actually which I've only just seen in the last couple of hours, but it adds on
about
to
his
that.
Contract.
Yeah, it's had much bigger ramifications for him into the next 2 years as a Steeler. I guess I'll just say it now.
Yeah, go on.
The reason why I'm also slapping him, not only because of his actions and because he's a big old muscly like baby, the fact that he's been suspended due to his actions and unsportsmanlike actions, it voids $45 million guaranteed money in his contract with the Steelers. It now means he can still earn that money, but none of it's guaranteed. 45 million of his contract is specified that if he misses time in terms of practice or game time due to essentially illicit behavior, that his money there is not guaranteed, and that he has to play to earn that money. So if he gets injured, he would have been guaranteed 20 million in 2027, something like 19 million in 2026. If he gets injured, that's not guaranteed money anymore. So like he is like that. It wasn't even a punch. It was like a grab and a push. But that action has essentially, potentially cost him millones. So that's just my addition to yours, but carry on.
Yeah, no, and he's liable to an injury. You know, he's been injured multiple times. You know, he's just, what an idiot. You know, you're a professional athlete. You know, the amount of people I want to punch at work and I don't do it.
Yeah, same.
How can, and I'm getting paid probably 0.1% of what his annual salary is. If I'm lucky, probably not even that. Why can't you just control what you're doing? You're an adult. You know, like, how much of a retard have you got to be to make those decisions and do those actions over and over and over again? Like, you must not care about anything. Just care about your team, or because without him at wide receiver, who have they got? Adam Thielen
and Kenneth Gainwell, which is seemingly all they need.
Gainwell's been a stud, hasn't he? But
especially
Warren had the game of his universe.
If you had him in fantasy in your semi-final fantasy this week, he would have probably won you the week.
Yeah,
absolutely, Dave. But you've said this for years, haven't you? And Cam said it for years about DK just being like a spit your dummy out type of player. I saw him with rose-tinted glasses at the Seahawks because he was our second-round draft pick, top wide receiver, the type of player that can blow the back doors off the defense, but didn't do it quite often enough. And so he was in like this limbo land as whether he was a true number one or whatever. And I think it's shown going to the Steelers, he's actually not. He has had his least amount of receptions since his rookie year. He's had under 700 yards. He's only had about 4 touchdowns. Like, he had much better years at Seattle as like a 1A, 1B with either Tyler Lockett or JSN. There was a year I think he had where he was our bona fide number one receiver, but he can't do it all. You know, you watch him, he can't do it all. And again, maybe I'm loading on it because he's not my player anymore. But when you watch him now, he is only that big boy. He's useful in the blocking game, which is probably why the Steelers have got a fairly good run game, because he's a wide receiver that can block. But unless he's got space and he's already got like 5 or 6 yards to start a gallop, he doesn't do anything. And he also doesn't use his size, I don't think, particularly well in terms of like contested catches going up and getting it. The fact that he's had the least amount of receptions that he's ever had in this offense with Aaron Rodgers as the true number one receiver in this team, I think just speaks volumes. Yeah.
And to add on top of that is just all the bullshit that he brings as part of that package. So he's not got that. He's got that number one receiver frame and speed,
And
but just
money.
can't put and just can't put it together. You know, I would take Puka Nakua over him every time. You know, they're a similar taller, like wide receiver.
Would you take T. Higgins over DK Metcalf?
Oh, of course, 100%. I think he's a far better receiver.
There you go. Yeah, there you go. He's like the big body, tall receiver that can go up and moss you at any time. And he probably, I don't know how much he's costing, but he's definitely costing less than DK. Okay, well, look, interestingly, that we both slapped him, and it's well deserved. The even more interesting part is that we're slapping somebody who is part of a team that won this week in the Pittsburgh Steelers. He didn't need to spit his dummy out. You know, they were winning for the most part of this game. They kind of had this game under control and only just let the Lions start to come back. This was a weird game and such a crazy one, such a crazy game to finish the game. I guess there was 17. What's that? There's 31 points in the fourth quarter. So many of the games this year, we've seen exactly this, an explosion in the fourth. I don't know why this year it's happening, but it is. And the Steelers won 29-24 against the Detroit Lions, and the Lions were fighting for their playoff life in this game. It was basically, if they don't win this game, they're not knocked out of the playoffs, but they have a very tough road to get there. It's very unlikely that they're going to. And they were shut out for a long period of this game. They just couldn't get points on the board. 0 points in the first quarter, 0 points in the third. They took a safety. They weren't moving the ball. And then in the fourth quarter, somehow they exploded, but it was just down the field, desperate balls thrown by Jared Goff. And I thought the Steelers actually did a really good job of doing what they needed to do to take care of these Lions, you know, having 230 yards on the ground between Gainwell and Warren, and the Lions just couldn't match it. And again, this is Dan Campbell putting his balls on the table, going for it on fourth downs, where you absolutely should just take the points, you know, kick a field goal, keep that momentum going. Instead, it swings the other way, and the Steelers just get every opportunity to win. But and the Lions had some friendly flags on that last play as well, last drive to get down there. Oh, big time.
Shot himself in the foot massively with two penalties of their own, you know, that just pushed them back from the 1 yard line to like the 15.
Yeah, it was super questionable, this game. I think, you know, I could have slapped both teams. One, because the Steelers allowed the Lions to come all the way roaring, excuse the pun, back, and the Lions also being this team that is, I remember 3 years ago, was it 2-3 years ago, when Dan Campbell, they got to the NFC Championship and they also shit the bed against the Niners and gave up a massive lead. And he was like, look, this could be the last time we get here for a long time. You know, these opportunities don't come around very often. And since then he's been exactly right. You know, this year they might not make the playoffs. Last year they got booted early by the Commanders of all teams. And yeah, they've squandered what I think is, their team is uber talented when you look at their players, aren't they?
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, losing Ben Johnson for them must be huge.
Okay, AFC, we've both slapped. So let's move on to signs. Who are you signing from the AFC?
I'm signing Cameron Ward of the Tennessee Titans.
He deserves it. He deserves it. I was tempted this week. I've just got other places I'm going, but I was really impressed. And listening to a few podcasts, I think a lot of people are impressed with how Cam Ward played in this game. And you got a win against the Chiefs. Their Chiefs defense, as much as Mahomes is out, nobody's injured on the Chiefs defense. That's a good unit. You know, Spagnola's defense should be winning them games on its own. So yeah, well done, Cam Ward. He deserves it.
They were top 10 defense, which is why I think I kind of thought we'd win, because I don't really rate Gardner Minshew. And then when he went out, this other youth who came in, I'm not saying that the Titans are better than the Chiefs, but this week I just think that they had so little on offense that Mahomes makes these average receivers that they've got essentially work. You put Gardner Minshew and this other youth in there, they've just got no hope in that. I thought our defense was good enough to keep them to not many points, and that ironically is what happened. But yeah, Cam Ward, every week I've said that I just want to see gradual improvements on the defense, on the offense, on special teams, and more importantly with Cam Ward's play, and he delivered it massively. He looked like a good quarterback this week. You know,
Yeah,
he
he
was
did.
21 of 28, so he was very accurate with the ball, 230 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. He had a passer rate of about
122.
122. Yeah, so
Mm.
he had a good. And some of the throws, you can't look at a box score without watching the game. Some of the throws, I saw Kurt Benkert do a breakdown of some of his throws, and he was basically he had the video up side by side of Aaron Rodgers. He's Aaron Rodgers. If you put Aaron Rodgers there, the way he throws the ball, it's
Yeah.
so similar. Yeah, and
It's
to be
amazing.
fair to him, he said it since like day one, since he came into the league. But he was just so
Yeah.
accurate with some of his plays, and he's got that. And I'm not saying he's Patrick Mahomes, but he's got that ability to get out of the pocket and just kind of throw the ball downfield, and it just goes to where it needs to go. He's got that about him.
Yeah, he's got the arm angle, hasn't he?
I'm mega hopeful for him. And yeah, and he was great. You know, he just did enough. You know, he put the ball in play. Tony Pollard was great again this week. Another 100-yard game. That's 3 games in a row of 100 yards. And these are the people that Cam Ward's throwing to: Eric Iomana, Okonkwo, DK, Van Jefferson, James Prochet was on the field. You know, like he's got nobody to throw to.
No.
Where's Calvin Ridley? What's happened to him? I mean, he broke his leg. I know exactly what happened to him. But
yeah,
we're doing this with nobody. I think we set the record, or we set it, and then the Browns, I think, it broke it this week for rookie receptions. It's basically getting broken every week by
right.
the amount of rookies that are getting receptions between us and the Browns.
That's an exciting place to be, though, isn't it? Like the fact that I won't say winning, but like you've now won 3 games, which is great. Like,
We
but
play the
it's all
Saints
about.
this week, and I think we'll beat the Saints this week as well.
You absolutely could. You absolutely could. And I think at this point, I think I'd want you to, as much as earlier in the season we were saying, you know, play for that the toppest, if that's even a word, the toppest draft pick that you can get. But instead, I think I'd actually rather see the Titans finish the season strong. If you can finish the season with 4 or 5 wins, then I mean, the Chiefs have only got 6, and I know that they've had Mahomes injured this week, but it just shows that you can win. You know, you can win games ultimately. And as Cam Ward continues to progress, if you look at like Bo Nix last year, I know they made the playoffs, but like his progression every week, I feel like we've sort of seen the same type of thing from Cam Ward. When you just said like it's the throws, you do have to watch tape. Like for anybody who's, you know, listening to this, I'm aware that Dave's a Titans fan. I love going to Nashville. I want to see them succeed because I want to see them as a good team. But you got to go watch it. I think I was listening to the podcast NFL Daily, and Greg Rosenhall put one of the throws that he threw to DK this week in his throw of the year candidate, and said that it might actually be and win the throw of the year because he's just doing things that are incredibly special with very little. And if you can go out there with some of the most money available next year in cap space and make yourself a team that is a little bit more desirable because you've now got that quarterback, I think people will look at Cam Ward and go, do you know what, actually playing with him might be quite fun. You know, like he'll get me the ball. And so these receivers that are maybe available and or top draft picks out the this year's draft for wide receivers, if that's where I think that's where you should target, because I think that you have to build around your strength in terms of your team. And I think Cam Ward is unfortunately maybe one of your team's 3 strengths. You know, I think you've got him, Simmons, who you can build around and build a disgusting defensive line, and then maybe you got a couple of good linebackers. But yeah, I think ultimately build around either choose. You know, Titans need to make a choice: choose to build around Cam Ward, or choose to build your defense as an animal that will stop people. And I actually think the money is in building around Cam Ward for you guys personally, because I think your defense is good anyway, and it will just continue to be good. Whereas Cam Ward, give him as much as you can and let it fly. It's exciting.
Yeah, and you can pick. There's always pass rushers. There's always defensive players, not necessarily good corners or elite corners, but they're always available in the off season. You know, in the free agency. Whereas I think sometimes wide receivers, I don't really like spending a lot of money on wide receivers. I'd rather do what you've done, like draft like a JSN, draft a Jamar Chase, draft a Justin Jefferson, and then you've got them and you're on essentially the same contract as what you've got your quarterback on.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I mean the Chiefs didn't look good. They were getting absolutely bullied by our offensive line, and that's our offensive line. and the defensive line was thrown around. The game should have finished. We should have had an extra touchdown at the end, but shockingly, the refs cheated us out of it.
Yeah.
Have you seen that?
I can't remember it.
Yeah, so Jeffrey Simmons is coming onto the field with his arm in the air, wiping his top to show everyone that he's eligible. All of the referees do it, give him the sign back. He then gets flagged for not
reporting.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Right. The camera angle shows him running on and the ref looking at him and then doing the same motion back to him. And then they throw a flag. It's just bollocks, man. I'm sick of... Who was it? Was it Puka Nakuru called him out after your game?
Yeah.
Saying the refs just make these bad decisions because they want to be like known. They want the TV time and stuff. And I don't disagree with him, you know. But I'm signing Cam Ward anyway.
That's good. Good stuff. Chiefs scored 9 points. The Tennessee Titans scored 26. It's a big win. It's a good win. It's what we like to see. If the Chiefs are going to stink, let's have them stink hard. My sign is going to be the Jaguars organization. I was going to go Jags offense, then I was going to go the head coach of the Jags, but I just think I'm going to give full credit where full credit's due. The Jags are now 11-4. They beat the Broncos this week. They beat a defense and put 34 points on a defense of the Broncos that is, outrageously good. There's no two ways about it. There's no debate that the Broncos have got a top 3 defense in the NFL. And yet, Trevor Lawrence goes for 279 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. He's very safe with the ball and spreads it out amongst receivers like Parker Washington. When you talk about a team that's not got too much to throw to, the Jags are in that ballpark. Like as much as you can say Brian Thomas was a number 1 pick wide receiver, he's been god awful this year. He had 2 catches in this game for 18 yards, no touchdowns. You got Parker Washington with 145 yards. You got Jacoby Myers, who is average at best, with 50 yards. Then Brenton Strange, who they seem to love and run their entire offense through, who's a tight end who had a touchdown. Travis Etienne's been good for them. They've done everything they need to sort of build this offense and put it a little bit more on Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence had a rushing touchdown in this game, and this has been it. Over the last 5-6 weeks, they've told Trevor Lawrence to use his legs more, get into space, be more mobile, try and nick those first downs if you see it come open. And that's what he's done. And he's almost become this do-it-all quarterback, like somebody who can move, use his legs. He's obviously got optimum arm talent because that's what he was renowned for coming out of college. And they put all those points on a healthy Broncos defense and then hold the Broncos themselves to 20 points. And their defense, the Jaguars defense is looking class as well. It gets to the quarterback. They've got amazing linebackers. I can't tell you a corner on their team, but they're a unit that works well together. And I think that's why my sign is going to them as as an overall franchise, because as we've said a few times on this podcast, they had back-to-back number 1 picks a few years ago. This is exactly why the NFL is amazing. You suck for a little bit, then you get the top picks in the draft and you change your destiny. And they've also not had Travis Hunter, that a specimen number 1 pick that they traded up for this year. That's an exciting thing to maybe get back next year. And the Broncos are a team not to be slept on, and they beat them, and they beat them pretty convincingly. So yeah, Jaguars for me.
The Trevor Lawrence has finally turned into that guy. We've kind of seen it. Yeah, turning into a guy because he looks like a
lesbian
transvestite. So yeah, Trevor Lawrence has turned into this quarterback that I think everyone's been waiting for him to turn into. He's kind of flourishing, like you say. He's not actually got a whole lot around him. He's kind of working with really average receivers, but he's doing everything he needs to win, and they're winning games and they're beating decent teams. Beating the Broncos this week, I think, is a big step forward for them because the Broncos defense is legit, and they put 30 odd points on them.
Yeah, I think it's a massive thing, and in the AFC, with that race being so wide open, I feel like it's going to be super important that the team that's hot going into the playoffs is the team that's probably the team to beat. Do you know what I mean? Like in the fact that you've got so many teams that could potentially take it in the Steelers, the Bills, the Texans, I'm going to say Titans, the Broncos, the Jags, and every single one of those teams has shown that they are beatable this year, as much as they are also good teams. So yeah, I think my sign for the Jags goes because of that 34-20 beating and Trevor Lawrence, like you say, coming into his own essentially. If he continues this trajectory, he might actually end up being in like year 4 or 5 or whatever it is, the quarterback that we were all expecting for, and it might have just taken the right coach to sort of open him up and get him to be that guy. So yeah, Trevor Lawrence. Let's go into the NFC and skip through this fairly quickly as we're approaching Christmas Eve. We all want drinks. We all want to go out and do stuff. So let's talk about the NFC, and let's go with an NFC sign. I'll start with this one, Dave, and I will go that I'm signing Ben Johnson from the Chicago Bears. Previously, the OC of the Lions when they were the powerhouse of the NFC North. He's now taken those skills and gone to Chicago, and Chicago are 11-4. And for this team to have been where it was last year, very average, subpar quarterback, even though they took him number 1 pick in Caleb Williams, he has turned them around. He has changed the trajectory of the Chicago Bears. He's the best thing that the Bears have done or had in the last 15 years from a coach perspective. He's making them relevant. He's taking them into the playoffs. They're as legitimate as any team, I guess, coming into the playoffs is, because they can find ways to win. They've been in some tight games and they've not necessarily been dominant, but they beat the Packers this week 22-16. Caleb Williams is starting to look like the quarterback that you want to get from a first round. He can make throws on the move. He can do all the things that you want your number 1 quarterback to do. And whilst the Packers kept him wrapped up for the best part of 3 quarters this week, when it came to it, he had the clutch to find big throws downfield, find his receivers in DJ Moore. I mean, this was a tough one because they were missing their number 2 and 3 receivers in Luther Burden and Roma Dunze, and he still was able to move the ball when it mattered. They run the ball like animals, and I think that sets up the play action and the deep pass game so well for the Bears. And their defense is unbelievable. Their defense, I think, has got the most takeaways in the NFC. They're just everywhere with the ball. They come away with interceptions, sacks, tackles for losses all over the place. I think they had, I don't know how many sacks they had in this game. They had a few, but they did what they needed to. They obviously hit Jordan Love and put him on his arse, which then put him out of the game because he had a concussion. But as it stands, Ben Johnson has transformed this team as a head coach, and he's passionate and he cares, and you can tell that he's the type of man. He's the type of guy that I'd want leading my team.
Yeah, I completely agree. I'm so upset that the Titans didn't go and get him. Whether it was either hanging on to Vrabel for another season or binning Brian Callahan off after 1 year, because I can't think of a better head coach right now that's just come in and just absolutely turned a team around. It's never been a head coach before. Vrabel's obviously done it with the Patriots, but in terms of turning a team around, not just turning them around to making them mediocre, he's turned them into a powerhouse in the NFC North of all teams, which had the Lions, which has got the Packers. The Vikings were unbelievable last year. They have the pump this year, but it's still got a really competitive Packers and Lions team, and the Bears are by far and away the best team.
Yeah, weirdly, isn't it?
Yeah, they've done the right thing by hiring him. Whatever magic he's got, he seems to be. I know it's his first year, but if he stays active with that team, they could be a force for the next 10, 15 years.
They really could. With a quarterback that's in year 2 of his progression, and with the fact that they've got, I think the fact that Ben Johnson is in year 1 and he's done this already is scary, because he's embedding his culture and he's building the team. Like, there's no way that he obtained this team when he moved across from the Lions and has created it in his perfect image. He's tried by going out and getting Colston Loveland, and this Kyle Monangai is, Loveland is essentially Sam Laporta. Monangai is essentially David Montgomery. Swift is a very poor man's Gibbs, but at the same time, he's building these chess pieces. Like DJ Moore is probably his Amon-Ra. And then you've got like the deep threat in Luther Burden that is there, Jameson Williams. Like, it's a very, very similar team. And what did they do? They went out and built that offensive line out of like pro bowlers, first round draft picks. Like, it's the Lions. Like, he's basically turned them into the Lions, but with a better defense, which is kind of crazy. So, yeah, I think year 2 for him could be really, really dangerous. And, you know, year 1, we still can't count them out. They're in the playoffs. You know, they've already secured their spot. They're going to be a tough team to face, albeit I think there's better teams out there at the moment. But I think that they're a team, like you say, for the next 5 years could be Dutty Wayne. Who are you signing? NFC.
I'm signing a man who's had many signs. Christian McCaffrey.
Ooh, CMC.
I mean, the 49ers dumped all over the Colts, putting 48 points on them. It's outrageous.
That's ridiculous.
Fair play to Sandy Rivers. But no, this is all about him. I mean, Purdy had 5 touchdowns as well. Wowzers.
Yeah.
But Christian McCaffrey had 117 yards and also 30 receiving yards and 2 receiving touchdowns. He's just such a special player, and yeah, I don't think he's had necessarily this year that he's had of the past, where he's been the dominant running back force. I think Father Time's starting to catch up with him a little bit, but I'd still take him on the Titans every day of the week. Of course. He's just so special, not just necessarily catching out the backfield, but he's always available for that option. And I think that's playing against certain running backs. Like when Tony Pollard's in the backfield, you ain't going to really worry about him catching a swing route and taking it 70 yards. He's just not that kind of player. So to have McCaffrey there that can do all these things, and then you can line him up in the slot as a wide receiver. You know, he can receive out the backfield further down the field. He can incredibly well. Like when he lines up in the slot, he's lining up as like an elite slot receiver. Yeah, he's phenomenal. I think that the Panthers, you know, like obviously the Panthers let him go and they've built this team that they built, but imagine if they've just held out a little bit and just paired him with how Bryce Young's playing at the minute. You know, they could have been a serious force if they'd have kept hold of some of them players that we've just mentioned on the Bears. You know, it's a bit sad. Like I don't necessarily like seeing players go to like the super teams. You know, it's nice to see homegrown teams get better. But I mean, what a player McCaffrey is. Yeah, amazing. I was watching it closely because I had some fantasy implications which didn't go well for me, but nevertheless, he did everything that a man can do, and that's been the nature of his season. I think, Dave, like you say, his Father Time's catching up to him. He's not got that explosive step anymore, but he's now more cerebral. You know, he finds holes in the defense when he's receiving in zone. He is smart with his carries, and you know, keeps himself available. So yeah, I don't like cheering for the Niners, and the only reason I wanted them to do any kind of well was because I had him in fantasy. But you know, if we talk about this game real quick, it's an absolute dumping by the Niners on a good Colts team and a very good Colts defense. And to put 48 points up, they didn't skip a beat. Brock Purdy was phenomenal as well. You know, could have easily got a sign at nearly 300 yards, 5 touchdowns. George Kittle had 115 yards through the air. And a touchdown. I don't know how they're doing it, but the Niners are doing it. They're just doing it. They are unstoppable. They have got 11 wins, which is better than almost any other team in the NFC outside of people in the NFC West. And I think they've got every chance. Imagine if they still had Fred Warner and Nick Bosa. Yeah. I don't want to imagine it. Like, it's crazy. No, I don't know what. Them with 11 wins, the Rams with 11 wins, and you with 12 wins is outrageous in one division. You know? Especially when you have to play each other. Yeah, and then you go to the NFC South. What are they? 7-7, 8 and 7 and 4, or whatever it is. Yeah, it's pretty poor. I mean, also just to talk to the Colts, they put 27 points up, which is great. Well done to Phillip Rivers. He threw two touchdowns and a stinky pick, but 2 touchdowns coming off the couch. I mean, he looks fat, doesn't he? He looks old. He does not look in good nick. But if you can come in and do that, he's not made him relevant, but he's at least kept them competitive. They were 7-2. They were 7-2. Oh, that's brutal. I just saw a meme. Just saw a meme about asking science to help figure out how to get Phil Rivers' brain into Anthony Richardson's body.
I like that. Yeah, that would be the optimal Frankenstein moment. That would, but yeah, okay, cool. Let's skip across to our slaps from the NFC. Who you slappings
I'm going to slap Jameer Gibbs.
from the
I know we
Lions?
spoke about the Lions Steelers game. The Lions lost, but Gibbs, if you're going to be this all-world running back, the best running back in the league, you need to be able to do more than just break away for long runs. You know, he had 7 rushes for 2 yards. It's about as bad as he can get for a running back. He averaged 0.3 yards per rush.
Yeah, that is terrible.
He did have 10 receiving yards for 66, or 10 receptions for 66 yards, but he's not a receiver. You know, you need to have a run. They had no run game at all. They finished with 13 rushing yards and 3 people attempted rushes. 13 rushing yards off, 12 rushes? Nearly a yard a rush, just over 1.1 yard a rush. You know, against the Steelers, you know, and I understand they've got a great defense, but if you're going to pass the ball, you need to be able to run the ball, and they just could not do it. You know, and I get they were chasing the game for a lot of it, but it's the fact that he finished with 2 rushing yards is what was done me in. Like 2 rushing yards. He fell down forward twice.
Yeah, literally.
You know, and I think he probably absolutely ended so many people's fantasies as well.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't even think about that, but yeah, I think if you're going to be this Premier back and you're going to be the number one back on the Lions, then it needs to be a week in, week out thing. And this week he was awful. Yeah,
couldn't agree more. And like you say, playing against a Steelers team that doesn't have TJ Watt and that is a little bit banged up in places, you'd expect somebody of his caliber to put the team on his back when they needed him the most, and they couldn't do that. They were in desperation mode for a lot of that game, and it was not fun to watch. You know, I guess it was fun to watch because it was just constant barragements and safeties and long passes being completed by Goff on the back foot, but it was not really fun. I was pissed at both teams in this. Both teams earned a slap, in my opinion, in one way, shape, or form, including the Steelers kicker as well, who missed a stoinker that would have changed the game. Terrible. My final slap in the NFC is to both quarterbacks in the same game. So you said something, I'm going to call it something a little bit nicer, but this was the stink bowl, wasn't it, Dave? This was the Vikings taking on the Giants in the stink bowl. JJ McCarthy up against Jackson Dart. JJ McCarthy had 100 yards and 1 interception. Jackson Dart had 33 yards and 1 interception. These are NFL quarterbacks, you know, and I know that JJ McCarthy ended up injured and Max Brosner had to come in, but he only had 52 yards on 7 attempts, which is, you know, equally as bad. So every quarterback in this game, including Brosner, just deserves to be slapped because they did nothing. Not a single touchdown between them. Not like this game finished 16 to the Vikings, 13 to the Giants, and it was terrible. You know, JJ McCarthy, oh my God, he could be one of the most hated quarterbacks after not really doing anything either. Like, he's not really done much to be hated for apart from come back from an injury. He's a turd. He's a walking human turd. Like, I hate him. I detest him. He ran one in and started, like, last week he gridded into the end zone before he got in. This week he ran one in and started doing this, like, I think he thinks he's amazing. Like, I think he thinks he's like this animal. Like, he started like really like almost growling and griddying, and I was like, you're an idiot. You are an idiot. You look like an idiot. You're built like a 12-year-old boy. I can't wait for them to probably continue to roll with him and see that he's awful. He's not the guy. I want him to get sacked every week. I want him to get concussed every week. I want him to get injured every week because he's so unlikable. And I feel like I'm open. You know, I'm open to quarterbacks. I'm open to football players. I want to like people. I like to like football. But he makes it really difficult to like. He's just an asshat. Jackson Dart had a worse game. And if you had him in fantasy, Lord knows you didn't win anything. And I think he's more likable, but he's also stupid. He looks for contact, like, unintentionally, and he's gonna cut his career short so early by taking unnecessary hits. I think the Giants, if they end up with a top 2 pick, I think they need to take a quarterback. They need to forget that they've got him and take a legitimate like pocket passing quarterback that will be able to use the assets that they've got, because they're building some, and just forget about Jackson Dart or trade him to somewhere that's maybe a little bit more needy, or a team that has a run scheme like, I don't know, the Ravens or something, so that if Lamar does go down, they've got something. Don't know what you think about that, but I just thought this game was so poo. Awful.
Yeah, I'll start with 9. That
9.
retard. Oh my god, what an absolute game this was. What is wrong with him? He not only is he awful as a passer, like what gives you the right to like go, you like run into the, like, firstly you're a quarterback, when you run one into the end zone and then gritty, like, it's like the reason you've ran that in is because they're accounting for everybody else, and you see so many of them run them in. I don't even think they should record it as a stat for quarterbacks if they rush a touchdown in. But why are you doing the gritty in the end zone like you're some kind of superstar, amazing? You become a meme. You're the Will Levis of this year, essentially. Well done.
Yeah.
And no, I can't stand him. I think this will go down as like probably one of the biggest mistakes ever in the NFL, was letting Sam Darnold leave and thinking that guy was going to be the guy. He's bluffed them into like becoming the starting quarterback.
Yeah.
And then the other guy, Jackson Dart, I completely agree with you as well. I think if they get the number 1 pick, they should 100% take a quarterback and get rid of him. He's never going to be available. He's going to be available for half the year.
Yeah.
What, is he really that good?
No.
Now that defenses have kind of figured out, if you just keep spying him so he can't run and actually make him have to throw the ball, he can't actually do a lot. The fact that people are comparing him to, he'll always be compared, him, Shador Sanders, they'll always be compared to Cam Ward, because obviously Cam Ward was taken first. There's no way I'd want one of these. I wouldn't want either of them, because Shador Sanders shit the bed again.
They're in a different league. And I heard this on a podcast recently as well, and I was glad to hear it, where they were just saying, like, at the midpoint of the season, if anybody was saying like, oh, you know, maybe the Titans made the wrong decision, fuck no, not even close. Like, they're totally like, Cam Ward can throw a ball. Shador Sanders has been awful at times. Like, Cam Ward has not had a bad game, really. He maybe one or two, but not to the point, not where you'd ever poke at it like this and go, no, what an awful performance.
No, he doesn't put himself in a position where, there's so many times where I think, God, I wish he'd just run and get that first down. But he'll throw the ball and maybe we'll get it, maybe we won't get it. But if I'm so glad that's the last option. He'll look down if there's nobody there, he'll escape the pocket. Then he'll continue to look down the field, and if there's nothing there, then he'll run. That's his third option. Whereas these like Jackson Dart and Shador Sanders, it's like, look up, panic, can't really see what's going on, so I'm just going to run forward. I'm so glad that we haven't got them. But yeah, no, I agree with you. I think they're both awful. I think the Vikings have made an awful mistake, and they need to do something about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, couldn't agree more, which is why I'm slapping them. So the Vikings win this one 16-13. That means the Giants have got 2 wins on the season. God, imagine being a Giants fan, and Dave, you don't have to imagine, you've been there, you've walked the walk, and it's just there's no let up. There's no let up for these guys. There's no let up in New York for the Jets or the Giants. They're both awful. There's so much to do on these teams. I do think that the Giants have got something in place, but they need to still keep trying to find the right guy at quarterback, because they don't have him. They really don't. And many games this season have shown why. And I think that
I'll say one thing. I think Jackson Dart has legitimately got worse this season.
Yeah, he started great.
I think he's regressed massively, and this is what I'm saying about Cam Ward. Yeah, he wasn't great at the start of the season. He was finding his feet, but he's progressed every single week, and every week I've seen him get better. Jackson Dart seems to be getting progressively worse.
Yeah, I agree, and I think I genuinely think it's because of what you said. I think teams have now sussed what he's all about, and if you can contain him with a scheme, just spy him, put the edges on contain so he can't get out the pocket, then that's it. It's his game done. He's not got the ability to be able to beat you any other way. And the only time he won games was when he was essentially scrambling for his life. I think I said it. I was literally watching him in person in New Jersey in a game against the Eagles, where nothing felt scripted. I'm glad they won, but nothing felt like, oh, that was meant to happen. It was just run around, see what you can make of it, and that I think that sometimes probably throws defenses off. You know, if you're a fine-tuned defense like the Broncos or whatever, if a quarterback starts just like running around with his hair on fire, trying to disregard his own personal well-being, you're probably like, what's he doing? Well, we don't have a man there. Oh shit, because he's doing something that's just not football related. So yeah, ultimately, that's the end of Slap or Sign. We're finished there. And because we are sort of shy of time, what I'm going to do is just go through some of the games that we've not spoke about, just recap them. We've spoke about the important games. Ultimately, we've spoke about the important games. But the Eagles played the Commanders. That was an absolute duppy down. Eagles 29, Commanders 19. This was a Saturday game. We've had football nearly every day, which is fantastic. The Eagles guarantee themselves a playoff spot. The Commanders are woeful and don't. The Bills just managed to scrape past the Browns 23-20 to the Bills. Josh Allen had his worst fantasy day on record. Happened to be in my fantasy team and happened to lose me the semi-final week. Thanks very much, Josh Allen. But nevertheless, the Bills did dominate on the ground, beat up the Browns. Myles Garrett's one sack away from breaking the record, which I hope he gets this week. But this was just a must-win for the Bills to keep relevant in the vying for top spot in the playoffs. And the Browns obviously suck. Chargers Cowboys was a great game. Justin Herbert had an awesome day. 300 yards, 2 touchdowns. Dak Prescott didn't have a great day, and the Cowboys continue to regress. They've now only won 6 games, lost 8, drawn 1. And the man that we ripped into last week, Dave, I will talk about him just for a second. Shock horror. Joe Burrow is now having fun playing football again, apparently, according to him. And why not when you throw 4 touchdowns and 300 yards? When he's winning, he's so happy. When he's losing, he wants to quit. And I just don't like that behaviour. I think that somebody who only gives his all and only gives you one side of him when he's in a perfect scenario with perfect conditions, but won't accept or stand up to any adversity, is not worth his salt in my mind.
No, he's a baby. Don't we all like life when it's going swimmingly well? You know, when you've got nothing to worry about, your bills are paid, got some savings in the bank, crypto's up, stocks are up.
Yeah.
And then, it's sun shining.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice, isn't it?
It's lovely, isn't it?
Shockingly, life isn't like that. You know, you're one of the privileged few 32 starting quarterbacks in the world. Only 32 of you. Multi-millionaire. At one point was going to buy a Batmobile. I would like a Batmobile. I'd really like a Batmobile. But I can't even probably afford a Lego Batmobile right now. Christmas is
Lego's pricey.
sucked me dry.
But yeah, that's that. I just want to say that's annoying. You know, they win and he's all of a sudden, yeah, I'm having fun again. Well, you've won one game. You've won one game, and you won it against a really, really poor Dolphins team. Bengals 45, Dolphins 21. Yeah, same principle applies for the Saints and Jets as well. Everyone's like raving about the Saints. Oh, they could potentially be really good. They've got 5 wins on. No, they're just idiots. They're just doing things all kinds of wrong. And I don't see any bright spark again, other than Chris Olave that we've spoken about many a week. He's a great player. He had 150 yards, 2 touchdowns in this one. But you beat the Jets. You beat the Jets 29-6. That's it. You know, if you look at the Saints' schedule, it's been awful. You know, like the only wins that they've got against teams have been awful teams. Simple as that. Wait till next year. If they try to roll with this Tyler Shahudi, they'll get owned again every week. Apart from by the teams that are in their division, because they're all crud. Speaking of which, the Buccaneers lost to the Panthers. This should have been one of the games of the week, and it was just not. 23 to the Panthers, 20 to the Buccaneers. Panthers go 1 up in that division, 8-7, and Buccaneers go to 7-8. Still open, still nobody secured playoffs. It's going to come down to the final game of the season, more likely, because the Bucs might win this week. The Panthers hopefully lose to the Seahawks, and then it'll be the last game between the Bucs and the Panthers as to who takes that top, if you can call it a top spot in the NFC South. It's horrendous that they get to call themselves division champions with this type of record, but that's football. And then Raiders, Texans keeping it close, 23-21. Texans had a poor outing really on offense, and the Raiders made it difficult for them. And the Falcons duppied the Cardinals because the Cardinals are also ass. Just so many nothing games in this one. And then the final game, I don't know if I said it was the final game, but this is the final game. The Patriots are a legit team. They beat the Ravens 28-24. They've now got 12 wins. The Ravens fall to 7-8. Their playoff hopes probably dropping off a cliff, and they were winning, and they had this game essentially dead to rights. Derrick Henry had 120 yards, 2 touchdowns, and they just stopped using him. Why would you do that? Why would you stop using Derrick Henry if you're winning?
I think it's because they're retards.
It could be that, yeah, because I don't see why you would stop using a player that was dominating on the ground. He's like built to see out a game. He's built for the fourth quarter, that man, and they didn't play him in the fourth quarter. Ridiculous, as your dad would say. And I think that the Ravens, whether this is a hot take or not, but I reckon their head coach, I reckon John Harbaugh, will not be there next year. That's my take.
They can get rid of him.
I think so. I feel like you have to. They've choked too many of these games out and missed on the playoffs too frequently, and you can blame Lamar's health or whatever, but ultimately I think you eventually have to start taking like accountability. You're not going to get rid of a multiple MVP player in Lamar Jackson, are you? You're going to keep him and try and build around him, but you can't get rid of your coach.
Yeah, but he's not the play caller, is he? He's a special teams guy, isn't he? So they must have an OC and a...
Yeah, they've got an OC and a DC, but I ultimately think it comes down to more than that. You know, I think for the Ravens, I think if you switch out the OC DC, I mean, they lost Mike McDonald to us, didn't they? Which I think was probably a huge loss for them on defense, coming to us as a head coach, and he deserves to be one. But I think it's I just think the Ravens, like, this is if they don't make the playoffs, irrespective of the health of Lamar, you look at the Niners on the other side and go, well, look what they're doing. You know, look what they can do with a head coach that's worth it.
But they've also got Mac Jones, who is probably as good as Brock Purdy for that system, you know, and they've got the issue with having Lamar Jackson is there isn't another Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, it's true.
So who do you have? And he's obviously made of glass, so he's constantly injured. You know, I hope they do sack him, and then I hope the Titans swoop in, pick him up, bring him to Tennessee, and drop him down. Yeah,
I thought that could be a thing, actually.
I saw they reckon Matt Nagy's the guy. That's what, like, I'm not even. I would be so angry if they they hire Matt Nagy. The Chiefs,
I can't see it.
The thing is, he was our general manager. He was at the Chiefs before, so
might have a relationship with Nagy.
Yeah, but I mean, he's got to be shit. They've been shit, and they've had the best, and they've got the best quarterback in the league.
Exactly.
So imagine him without that. Oh wait, we've seen it. He was at the Bears,
and they were shit. Yeah,
you cannot.
I can't see it happening.
Cannot give somebody like him.
No. I can't see it happening. I hope it doesn't, for your sake. But for John Harbaugh, that's my take. I think he'll be available, and why not go to Tennessee? Feels like a place he could be, in my opinion. So yeah, Patriots win, and they go marching to the top of the AFC, 12-3. They're the team to beat. Drake May looks like a potential MVP candidate. Fair play to him. He has taken a hell of a leap, and it'd be hard to argue that Vrabel's not coach of the year. I know there's going to be a few candidates, but he absolutely has to be up there. They stank last year, and now they are really good. And that's it. The only thing to talk about is Christmas. We'll round things off there. It is Christmas in a couple of days. We've got 3 games on Christmas Day to look forward to, Dave. How good is that? Nothing says Christmas like football on the telly with your leftovers in your hands and watching 3 poopy quarterbacks. These games are not good, you know, ultimately, but I guess that's probably a good thing for Christmas Day. It means you can watch football, not have to give it all your attention. The Cowboys are playing the Commanders, so you've got Dak against an unknown, whoever's playing for the Commanders. You got the Lions, so you got Goff against the Vikings and probably Max Brosnahan, and then you've got the Broncos in Bo Nix playing against, I can't even pronounce the quarterback for the Kansas City Chiefs. not many of these games mean a lot. Probably the only one that means a lot is the Detroit game against the Vikings, because Detroit are scraping for their playoff position. Dallas are already eliminated. Washington are already eliminated. Kansas City are already eliminated. I think the Broncos will just try and get a big pumpy win to try and keep themselves top of the board and get some home field advantage. And that's Christmas time. You can have a nice Christmas day with your feet up watching those games.
That's the plan.
Yeah.
Whether that happens or not is another set of circumstances altogether.
Yeah. It's a difficult one to try and convince your entire family that you're going to be watching football instead of playing heads up or any of the Christmas festive games or stuffing your face with food. But you can do all that whilst watching football, in my opinion. So I think that will happen. And just a massive happy Christmas to everybody who has listened to us this year so far. Hope you all have an amazing one. Week 16 is in the books. We move into week 17. We've got 2 more weeks of NFL football on a Sunday, and then we go into playoffs. So we will come back and we'll be on air next week after this game, week 17. And the playoff picture at that point will be fully set, I'm pretty sure. At least the teams that we know will be making it should be in, and all will be good with the world. But massive thanks for jumping on, Dave. Wherever you are, wherever you're listening, enjoy the football, enjoy the food, enjoy Christmas, enjoy Santa Claus climbing down your chimney, and have an amazing Christmas. Stay safe and warm, and we'll be back next week. Cheers, Big Dave. Football is life.
Football is life.
Catch me balling like I'm in the end zone. I got my homies in the no new friend zone. You know, making plays that land us in the end zone. Coming in clutch, you can catch me in the end zone. End zone.